It might be too early to discuss the 2019 NBA free agency, but at the same time, it's not because of all the possible implications of everything, and it's going to be a bit more interesting than this year's. It's not just because of how many big names and starter level players there are in next year's class, it's also how long they sign their contract for, how much money they take, and how that team builds the roster around them. It sounds simple, but it's going to be very important going into the next decade. Basically, we're going to have a general idea of which teams will be competing for deep playoff runs because superstars, all-stars, and borderline all-stars, and others will be signing long-term deals. If you want to see those teams play, get tickets to a concert, or watch an NBA team try to beat one with 5 all-stars, the best way to do it is on the SeatGeek app. Instead of having to search the web for the best ticket prices, SeatGeek does all the work for you by putting every single ticket from that event into one spot. They give those tickets a rating out of 100, so if it's green, then you know it's a good deal. If it's red, then you know it's a bad deal. They also allow you to see what your seats will look like before you buy them, so you can have a visual of where you'll look at the scoreboard to see if the Warriors have 100 points by the third quarter. SeatGeek has been good to me. This is something I've used in the past. The download link to the app will be in the description, and the best part is you will get $20 off your first ticket purchase by using my promo code Caine when you check out. If you are one of those people hoping for the Warriors dynasty to end, then you should start counting down the days to the 2019 offseason. The big question for the Warriors going into 2019 is who is going to get paid and how much are they going to get paid. What happens with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson next summer is going to tell us how long this Warriors championship run might be. They've won 3 out of the last 4, and in 20 years, we're going to look back at this 2019 summer as either what broke them up or what kept them together. The Warriors could win it again in June 2019, but the money troubles they'll face in the offseason could be the beginning of the end. As one league executive said in an interview, finances are the only thing that will break up this Warriors team. The Warriors right now have 4 players signed to guaranteed contracts for the 2019-2020 season: Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, and Jacob Evans. Keeping that core of KD, Curry, Klay, and Draymond past the year 2019 will be close to impossible without the Warriors ownership having to pay massive, and I mean massive, luxury tax payments. There are rules in place set by the league for teams who go over the tax line, and we're going to find out soon how much they're willing to pay. Moving on to the most important free agent next summer, and that is Kevin Durant. He has a player option of $31.5 million, which means he has 2 options. He can opt into the contract and receive that amount of money from Golden State for 1 season, or he can opt out of the contract, which is the most likely scenario, and will become an unrestricted free agent, which means he can sign with any team. Durant will be 30 years old soon and has already taken 2 pay cuts for the Warriors, so if there's a time to get a max long-term deal, it will be next summer. We don't really know what KD's motivations are next summer to leave, but what he decides to do will have major implications on the Warriors. The second most important free agent for Golden State is Klay Thompson, and like KD, we don't know his exact motivations, but we do know he wants to stay in Golden State for the rest of his career. There was a report that came out 2 months ago that said he and the Warriors are discussing a long-term team-friendly contract. Next year, Klay is eligible for a 5-year, $188 million contract, so it would help the ownership and roster if he took a team-friendly deal. Plenty of teams are going to offer Klay that $188 million in hopes that they can break up this Warriors team. KD and Klay could help out ownership by taking less, but we'll have to wait. What they do is going to have major implications on what Draymond Green may also do, so we're going to learn soon how long the lifespan of this Warriors dynasty is by next year. Another likely free agent is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie has a player option, which means that he will be either an unrestricted free agent or he can opt into $21 million for 1 more year in Boston, then become an unrestricted free agent in 2020. A guy that averaged 27 points in the finals is going to be on the market. That does not happen often. Remember back when Kyrie first requested a trade, there was a list of teams and one of them was the New York Knicks. A few reporters with sources have talked about the Kyrie-Knicks connection within the past few months, and that doesn't happen for nothing. I would pay attention to it. But at the same time, I would stay calm about it because we still are unsure of Porzingis' health and how good the Knicks' young players actually are in a real NBA game. If he opts out and re-signs a huge deal with Boston, that's going to kind of limit how much flexibility they have going forward. They still have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum on rookie contracts. In a few years, those guys will be signing huge deals, so that's going to affect Boston's cap too. The Celtics also have to deal with Al Horford's possible free agency in 2019. Horford has a $30.1 million player option in 2019 that he can opt into, or he can opt out of and become an unrestricted free agent. He is turning 33 next year, so it could be in his interest to secure one more long-term deal. Or he could just opt in and take the $30 million, but there's a slight risk in doing that because even though Horford's game doesn't completely rely on athleticism, he is getting older and will eventually decline. What Boston decides to do with Kyrie and Al are going to have big implications for Boston's cap going forward. They're going to be paying a lot of guys huge money, and they have guys on rookie contracts that are going to be looking to get paid, so it's going to be an interesting summer for them. Jimmy Butler will also most likely be a free agent in 2019. He just declined a $110 million extension because he will be up for a $188 million extension. It's just smart business. As long as Jimmy plays as well as he did this past year, he'll get the extension in Minnesota or somewhere else. Now, there was reports that Kyrie and Jimmy want to team up somewhere. They've been friends for a while. He liked an Instagram comment saying he would be up to go to the Knicks with Kyrie, and another comment about the Spurs. I think Jimmy is just trying to troll and rile people up, but I'd pay attention to it because even though Minnesota did well this year, their future is uncertain. There's been news that came out that said Jimmy was frustrated with Karl Towns and Andrew Wiggins' commitment on defense. Jimmy has a tough personality. He will get on people if they're playing like trash, and sometimes may create a bit of a rift. Jimmy has butted heads with Joakim Noah, and he had a bit of a power struggle with Derrick Rose back in Chicago. Again, it's too early to speculate teams, but I'm sure Jimmy's decision will somewhat hinge on Towns and Wiggins' development. Kemba Walker will be an unrestricted free agent in 2019, meaning he can sign with any team. He is earning just $12 million and will be getting a huge pay raise next year. He loves Charlotte and has said he wants to stay. Kemba also recently said that he doubts he ends up in New York. If I was in Kemba's camp, I would be trying to convince him to at least look at other teams in free agency next year. I'm just not that optimistic about Charlotte's future. They're stuck with Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, and Kid Gilchrist, and those guys don't move the needle. I like Malik Monk, but it feels like this team's ceiling, if everything goes well, is like 45 wins and a first-round exit. Kemba is their most valuable trade asset and their best chance at getting back draft picks and young players in a rebuild. It's too bad that Charlotte missed out on the first pick in the 2012 draft lottery because having Anthony Davis would relieve a lot of their problems. Next we have Kawhi Leonard, and I had to re-edit this part because when I was originally making this, he was not on the Raptors. I was half joking about this on Twitter. One of the strongest cases the Raptors can make to Kawhi in 2019 is, you get to play in the Eastern Conference, man. Like, you're never going to have to worry about guarding Durant one day, then you got Paul George 2 days later, then next week you got LeBron, oh also you got Harden on a back-to-back. Yes, there's Giannis and other good wings in the East, but most of the good ones are in the West. Kawhi is never going to have to worry about that again. He gets to play the Knicks, Nets, Hawks, Magic, and whatever East team that is bad. I know everybody's saying he's just going to go to LA in 2019, there's no point. Well, I mean, it could go all bad for Toronto, everything is on the table, but I think Toronto is going to win 55 plus games again, and Kawhi might like it in the East. If all goes well, he'll be the clear best player in the conference, and he can have the Raptors competing for NBA Finals appearances each year in and out. Now, don't take those comments as me saying Kawhi can't compete in the West. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that the East has a good outlook if it works out for the Raptors and Kawhi. Plus, when Kyle Lowry's contract is up, they can bring in another star player next to Kawhi. It's pretty simple. A team in LA or the Raptors are going to have a top 5 player in the league in 2019, and players like this do not move around very often. Either the West is going to get stronger, or if he stays in Toronto, I'm assuming they made it to the conference finals or they made it to the finals, so Toronto's going to be good for a while if he stays. Some other free agents that I'll go over just to talk about. Chris Middleton has a $13 million player option, but I'm sure he's going to opt out of that, seeing how he's likely to decline an extension with Milwaukee. He was awesome in that playoff series against Boston, and would be a nice secondary or a third option on a different team. The Bucks are in an interesting spot where that if they re-sign Middleton, they're not going to have much flexibility, but if they don't re-sign him, they risk having little talent around Giannis. Kevin Love has a $25 million player option, so he could look to opt out and secure a long-term deal into his mid-30s. Love is still a good player, not really the post player he used to be, but he's still a 2010 guy that can stretch the floor. A lot of teams could use his offense. DeMarcus Cousins is also an unrestricted free agent. I don't think he'll re-sign with Golden State unless he just wants to troll everyone again. Cousins will use this year to show he can compete in the playoffs and show that he can adjust in a reduced role. There are some other names like DeAndre Jordan, Austin Rivers, and Eric Bledsoe who will be unrestricted free agents. I'd pay attention to those names. Also, Kristaps Porzingis and Karl Towns are restricted free agents too, which means they are up for extensions with their current teams, so keep an eye on that. That's a lot of talent I just mentioned in one video and why it might be the most important class we've had in a long time. Appreciate it if you made it to the end of this long video. Thanks for always coming through to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.